When the female CEO brought her white Moonlight home, I was holding the pan, just about to ask if I should add a few dishes, when I saw the white Moonlight pointing at me, saying, "I knew it. What's written in the novels is all true. The moment I went abroad, you found a stand-in and kept him at home." I looked down at my chef's uniform, and the spatula in my hand. No one even notified me about this stand-in thing. Before I could even react, I heard the white Moonlight, Zhou Ran, continue. "No wonder you ignored me all these years I was abroad. Turns out you already had a new love by your side, completely tossing me, your old love, to the back of your mind. Even now that I've returned, you actually can't bear to send this stand-in away. In that case, I will just quit and let you to be." Looking at Zhou Ran's angry face, I was completely dumbfounded. Wait, what kind of script is this? Wasn't I hired because of my superb culinary skills? Recruited by the female CEO Jiang Qi with an 8 million annual salary to be the chef at her villa, just to help nurse her stomach problems. How did I become a new love and Jiang Qi couldn't help but frown. "Aaron, what nonsense are you talking about? During the 3 months you were abroad, didn't I fly to see you every week? How did I ignore you? Also, this is the family chef, Shen Luo, not whatever messy stand-in you're talking about." A tear rolled down Zhou Ran's cheek. Who has such a young chef? I like to wear white clothes, and he is also wearing white clothes. If he isn't a stand-in, what is he? ACI, why must you lie to me? I looked down at the white chef's uniform I was wearing, and then at Zhou Ran's white silk shirt. My eyes couldn't help but twitch. The only thing these two have in common is that they are both made of white fabric, right? I sighed and opened my mouth to say, "Mr. Zhou, I really am a chef. If you don't believe me, you can go look in the kitchen. The chicken soup I made is still simmering on the stove." But Zhou Ran covered his ears. "I won't listen, even if there is. It must be you guys, deliberately faking it to deceive me," Jiang Qi said helplessly. "Then tell me, how can you believe that Shen Luo is just a chef? If you kick him out, I will believe it." Zhou Ran suddenly had an expression of "you can't hide anything from me. It's all written in the novels. The white Moonlight and the stand-in absolutely cannot coexist. Otherwise, sooner or later, this stand-in of yours will replace my position as the white Moonlight. ACI don't want to lose you. So he must leave." Hearing him say this, Jiang Kai's brows furrowed even tighter. She looked at me hesitantly. Her stomach problem was mostly cured by me, and now she simply couldn't leave my cooking. But if she didn't send me away, Zhou Ran clearly wouldn't let it go. After a moment, Jiang Qi finally made a decision. She walked towards me and said in a low voice, "I know, we signed a live-in agreement, but in this situation, I have to trouble you to move to the nearby luxury apartment. I will reimburse double the commute fee and give you an extra 3-month salary as compensation." How does that sound? My eyes instantly lit up. Jiang Kai's luxury apartment is only a 5-minute walk from the villa. Now, not only do I get double the commute fee, I also earn 3 months salary for free. This is a massive win. I nodded without hesitation. "No problem, Boss G. Do you need me to move right now?" Saying that, I took out my phone, ready to contact a moving company. Jiang Qi was clearly taken aback for a second. Probably didn't expect me to be so straightforward. A strange feeling flashed in her heart. She opened her mouth, but ultimately, just nodded and said, "Move then." The moving company's truck arrived very quickly. While I was directing the workers to move the luggage, Zhou Ran looked down at me condescendingly. "Shen Luo, even if you took advantage of my absence while I was abroad, aren't you still leaving with your tail between your legs right now? In Aikai's heart, I am the most important. No matter how much you jump around, a stand-in will always just be a stand-in." I had just received a bank notification, and the 7-figure compensation was shining brightly. The one who prompted me to get this compensation fund, Zhou Ran, had also become incredibly endearing in my eyes. I smiled and echoed, "Yes, yes, yes. In Boss Jiang's heart, you are the most important. How could I compare to you?" Zhou Ran snorted coldly. "At least you know your place." He then walked away with his head held high. Not far away, I heard the butler ask him which room he wanted to stay in. He said without thinking, "I'll just stay in the room where ACI hung all my photos, to miss me." The butler was confused. "There isn't a room like that, right?" He immediately raised his voice. "How could there not be? In the novels, after the white Moonlight goes abroad, the CEO always has a specially locked room, forbidding anyone from entering, just to keep the white Moonlight's photos. If you don't know, just say you don't know. How can you say there isn't one?" I didn't hear clearly what was said afterwards. I only shook my head and silently mourned for the butler for 2 seconds. After moving into the luxury apartment, my days became quite leisurely for a while, except that every day, with Uncle Luz's coordination, I needed to bypass Zhou Ran's line of sight and sneak back to the villa to make 3 meals a day for Jiangqi. Other times, I was relaxed and free. My complexion became increasingly rosy over here, but the butler, Uncle Liu, visibly withered away. During one of our coordination meetings, I finally couldn't help but ask him, "Uncle Liu, is work at the villa really that busy lately? Why do I feel like you haven't slept well in a long time?" Uncle Liu sighed and said, "Don't even mention it. Lately, Mr. Zhou is practically torturing me to death. The first day he moved into the villa, he wanted the CEO to fire me. The reason was actually because I didn't tell him that he was the first man the CEO had brought home. The next day, he asked me again. After he left, had the CEO not smiled for 10 years? I simply showed him a photo of Boss Jiang smiling during an interview from 2 days ago, and he got so mad he smashed my phone directly." Uncle Liu seemed to have finally found someone to vent to, and complained endlessly about everything Zhou Ran had done. Over the past week, watching Uncle Liu's eloquent venting, a surge of relief washed over my heart. Thank goodness I moved to the luxury apartment on the first day. Otherwise, being tormented by Zhou Ran every day to act out a melodramatic soap opera, I'd probably lose years of my life. But clearly, I rejoiced a bit too early. Peaceful days barely lasted 2 days. Before the apartment doorbell was rung like a death warrant, I had just opened the door when Zhou Ran shoved me aside and barged in. He acted like a peacock patrolling its territory, circling around the room once. "No wonder you left so freely back then. Turns out ACI had another house to hide you in." My eyebrows twitched, wanting to quickly shoo him away. "Mr. Zhou, I really am just a chef. If you don't believe me, I can show you my employment contract." I took out the contract to show Zhou Ran. When his eyes swept over the annual salary figure, his pupils shrank abruptly. 8 million? He sneered and snatched the contract, slamming it onto the coffee table. "What kind of chef has such a high annual salary? This must be your sugar baby allowance. I earn my money with my own 2 hands." Him speaking like this was simply insulting to me. I couldn't bear it anymore. I directly took out my phone and dialed Jiangqi's number. "Boss Jiang, can you please keep your white moonlight in check?" A heavy sigh came from the other end of the phone. Let him answer the phone. Zhou Ran's face was still full of disdain when he answered, but his expression changed as he listened. Finally, he glared at me viciously, said, "Got it to the phone," and hung up. He raised his chin, recovering his arrogant posture. "Consider yourself lucky today, but don't think it'll let you off the hook just like this. ACI is just blinded by you right now. Soon she will know that this counterfeit can never compare to me." He threw down his harsh words and left, listening to the door slam thunderously loud. I wondered if I should ask Jiangqi for some mental distress compensation to avoid Zhou Ran looking for trouble again. For the next few days, I didn't even go to the villa. Every day after cooking, I just let the butler, Uncle Liu, use a Ben 2 box to take it away for Jiangqi to eat. When Uncle Liu came again this day, besides the bento, he also brought along an invitation to Zhou Ran's welcome banquet. Looking at that gold-stamped invitation, I only felt my temples throbbing violently. Just as I was about to refuse, I heard Uncle Liu continue. "Boss Jiang was driven crazy by Mr. Zhou, and she said, as long as you attend, there will be 10 times overtime pay." He looked at me with an expression of, "You lucky bastard." I also immediately changed my attitude. What's this about overtime pay or not? As long as Boss Jiang needs me, I will certainly die 10,000 deaths without hesitation. The welcome banquet was held at Boss Jiang's villa. When I arrived, Zhou Ran was playing the piano. The soft spotlight hit him, making him finally look a bit like a white moonlight. The Golden Circle princes and wealthy big shots attending the banquet saw me and gathered around to exchange pleasantries. "Is Mr. Shen the head chef for tonight's welcome banquet? Then I'm really in for a treat. Mr. Shen, are you considering jumping ship recently? My mother has really been craving your cooking lately." The piano music abruptly stopped. Everyone's eyes subconsciously turned to Zhou Ran. He picked up the microphone, looking with fire in his eyes at the people surrounding me. "Let me introduce myself. I am Jiang Kai's true white moonlight. The one you're surrounding is just a presentable four-nodding. It's fine if you want to flatter someone, but don't flatter the wrong person. The loss will outweigh the gain." Everyone looked at each other in dismay, all showing a baffled expression, and then continued exchanging pleasantries with me. Zhou Ran concluded that during the time he was away, I had bought people's hearts. He was mad beyond words, but soon remembered something else, and like changing a face, smiled at me and said, Although I played well just now, I heard Mr. Sushen's piano skills are even more superb. Why not go play a piece to add to everyone's fun? If you don't play, it means you look down on everyone. When saying this, Zhou Ran had an expression of waiting for a good show. He had already asked around. Shen Luo was naturally let alone a piano. He couldn't even flick a coin properly. Going to play the piano later, he was bound to make a fool of himself in front of everyone. When the time comes, ACI will know this stand-in isn't like him at all. Zhou Ran seemed to have already foreseen my subsequent ugly state, and his face looked extremely smug. But I didn't even think before saying, "You heard wrong. I don't know how to play the piano at all." Zhou Ran's smugness froze, looking at me in disbelief. "You're just going to say it out straight like that? Isn't it written in novels that even if a stand-in knows nothing, they still bite the bullet and imitate the white moonlight? Why aren't you doing that?" By the end of his words, his defenses had somewhat broken. This was the welcome banquet he carefully prepared, just so Shen Luo could make a fool of himself in public. Zhang Qi had just finished dealing with work and came over. Seeing his cheeks flushed red, she quickly showed concern. "What's wrong?" He immediately grabbed Yang Kai's hand. "ACI, Shen Luo is bullying me." Zhang Qi frowned and looked at me. I immediately raised my hands. I certainly didn't. The people around chimed in all at once, explaining to Zhang Qi what had happened. She rubbed her temples, visibly much more exhausted. "Just go play a bit. I'll raise your overtime pay to 20 times. I immediately beamed with joy. Boss Jiang is so generous. I walked to the piano, my fingers randomly slamming on the keys. The sound it made compared to Zhou Ran's music earlier was like mud compared to clouds. Zhou Ran laughed smugly, looking around expectantly, ready to enjoy the scene of everyone mocking me. However, the guests just clinked glasses with each other, as if they didn't hear it at all. He suddenly stood up, unbelieving. "Why aren't you laughing at Shen Luo?" Say Hayes from a lowly background. That Hayes unpresentable and stuff. Someone was puzzled. He just doesn't know how to play the piano. What's there to be mocked about? Moreover, playing piano isn't a standard for judging a person. Although Mr. Shen doesn't know how to play the piano, the food he makes is comparable to a state banquet. People always have things they aren't good at. You have to allow others to have shortcomings. Isn't the role of this bunch of banquet background characters to mock the stand-in making a fool of himself? On what grounds are you not laughing? The air was instantly so quiet. You could hear the sound of champagne bubbling. The little princess of the financial circle sneered. "It seems Boss Jiang's banquet is too precious. We only deserve to be background characters. Since that's the case, we won't stay and be an eyesore." Most of the people present left their seats one after another. No matter how much Jiang Qi apologized, they refused to stay. Jiang Qi was getting a headache. Yet Zhou Ran was still clamoring. "If they want to go, just let them go. I am Aikai's white moonlight. Offending me. Tomorrow, I will ask H to make them go bankrupt." Once these words came out, the remaining people didn't want to stay either. They looked like they were looking at a psychopath at Zhou Ran, and then all left. A welcome banquet just broke up on bad terms like this. I was also about to leave, but was grabbed by the wrist by Zhou Ran. "You can't go. Aikai's welcome banquet turning out like this is definitely because Shen Luo wanted to frame me and see me make a fool of myself. You must help me punish him." Zhang Kai's face darkened, unable to hide the disappointment in her eyes. "Aaron, can you stop making a scene? How have you become like this now?" Zhou Ran's face instantly went pale. "To defend this stand-in, you actually treat me like this. What are you saying? I changed. Clearly you are the one who changed, right? It seems between the two of us, you chose him. Then you better not regret it." After saying that, he grabbed his coat and rushed out of the villa. I solemnly patted Jiang Kai's shoulder. "Tough times. Also, remember to wire the overtime pay to my card." I was just about to lift my foot and leave when I saw Jiang Qi's face turn pale, one hand tightly clutching her stomach. It was obvious her stomach disease was acting up again. Now I couldn't leave even if I wanted to. I quickly helped Jiang Qi sit down on the sofa and went to the kitchen to boil some stomach-soothing porridge for her. After taking care of Jiang Qi all night, her complexion finally improved a lot. I stretched my back, just about to leave the villa, when I saw Zhou Ran pacing outside the door. Obviously, because last night Jiang Qi didn't go chase after him. He couldn't swallow his pride. Coming in and seeing me, his face was full of disbelief. "I was only gone for one night, and ACI couldn't wait to have you accompany her. Shen Luo, your scheming is much deeper than I thought, but don't get too smug either. I have plenty of ways to deal with you." I already didn't want to engage with Zhou Ran anymore. I always felt that talking to him lowered my IQ. Just as I was about to leave, I saw Zhou Ran rush into the villa as if making a firm decision. ACI. After a night of reflection, I already know I was wrong. I also know Shen Luo is very important to you. I will never chase him away again. Can you forgive me? Zhang Qi saw Zhou Ran soften. Her expression quickly softened. It couldn't be better that you figured it out. Since that's the case, Shen Luo, you should move back to the villa. I happen to really need you these 2 days. I knew Jiang Qi was talking about her stomach condition, but Zhou Ran clearly misunderstood again, seeing that Jiang Qi didn't refute it at all, and even used the excuse to bring me back. His face turned even paler. The look he gave me was also full of resentment. However, he quickly flashed me a malicious smile. My eyebrows twitched. I always felt things wouldn't be peaceful from now on. While I was on edge over here, the butler, Uncle Liu, seemed to have finally found an ally. Every day he'd come to the kitchen to whisper complaints about Zhou Ran with me. Once, just after he finished complaining, we heard Zhou Ran's voice sound from behind. ACI. Look at Shen Luo, taking so much of your money, and slacking off normally. The money he took is a sugar baby fee. Jiang Qi didn't catch the implication, but her brows subconsciously furrowed. Uncle Liu, you must also mind your boundaries when managing household affairs. Uncle Liu left the kitchen with an awkward smile. Seeing that Jiang Qi only scolded Uncle Liu, but didn't scold me, Zhou Ran's eyes grew even more resentful. This day, I was in the kitchen preparing lunch. Zhou Ran suddenly rushed in and snatched my knife. Shen Luo, don't think you can be smug anymore. Today is the day you get kicked out of the Jiang family. Saying this, he took the knife and pierced the blood bag on his waist, then immediately cried out in pain. It hurts, Shen Luo. I just wanted to help you chop some vegetables. Why did you hurt me with the knife? Hearing the commotion, Jiang Qi quickly ran downstairs and caught Zhou Ran as he fell to the floor. Her brows knitted into a tight knot. Shen Luo, I know you've been wronged recently, but you can't just physically hurt someone. I calmly pointed above my head. Boss Jiang, there's a camera installed in the kitchen. Instead of blaming me, you might as well look at the surveillance footage first. Zhou Ran obviously didn't expect this, panic flashing in his eyes. Seeing that Jiang Qi was about to check the footage, he immediately pulled her back, crying miserably. ACI, it hurts so much. Never mind the footage for now. Take me to the hospital, okay? Hearing this, Jiang Qi quickly had someone take Zhou Ran to the hospital. I thought about it, and after entrusting the footage matter to Uncle Liu, I also followed them to the hospital. Entering the consultation room, Zhou Ran, seeing no one else around, grabbed the doctor's hand and stuffed a card into it. Later, just say I was stabbed into kidney failure, and I need the kidney of the guy who came with me extracted for me. Understood. The doctor holding the card froze. His expression complicated. Zhou Ran, however, felt everything was set, and immediately ordered the doctor to push him in the wheelchair out of the consultation room. Seeing Zhou Ran being pushed out, she immediately went up to meet them. Doctor, how is Aaron? Is the situation serious? Do I need to contact a famous foreign doctor right now to come do the surgery? The doctor opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Zhou Ran glared at the doctor in frustration, then said weakly himself, the doctor said my kidney failed from being stabbed, and I need an immediate kidney transplant. I think Shen Luo's kidney is pretty good. He hurt me. He should pay some price. After saying that, he looked at me triumphantly, seemingly certain that Jiang Qi would definitely harvest my kidney for him. I felt a wave of speechlessness in my heart. Zhou Ran making all this fuss was actually to come to the hospital to dig out my kidney. Does he really think this is a novel? Jiang Qi also frowned and looked at him. Not to mention that Shen Luo's kidney might not even be a match. Even if it is a match, without the person's consent, forcibly harvesting a kidney is illegal. Aaron, how could you have such a thought? The smugness on Zhou Ran's face froze. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak for a long time. He didn't expect that Jiang Qi actually wouldn't follow the script. At this moment, the doctor, as if finally snapping back to reality, breathed a sigh of relief. He cleared his throat, took out the card, and handed it back to Jiang Qi. Miss Jiang, the situation is like this. Mr. Zhou just stuffed this card to me, wanting to bribe me to falsely claim he has kidney failure, and even said he wanted to harvest this Mr. Shen's kidney. If I hadn't heard what you just said, I was planning to just call the police directly. Fortunately, Miss Zhang, you are someone who understands the law. Since that's the case, I am relieved. When you have time, persuade Mr. Zhou more. Don't let him have such dangerous thoughts again. And don't treat the hospital like a playground again, smearing some fake blood on his body just to take up medical resources. After saying that, the doctor returned to the consultation room. Just before entering the door, I heard him mutter quietly, "People nowadays read so many novels that it ruins their brains. Even stuffed a card to bribe me. Didn't even give me the pin, really thought." I really wanted to laugh out loud, but looking at Jiang Kai's darkened face, I knew the occasion was inappropriate, so I had to hold back my laughter. Zhou Ran looked at Jiang Kai's disappointed eyes, panicking and arguing, "ECI, look at how much blood I've shed. How could it be fake? Don't listen to that doctor's nonsense. He must be some relative of Shen Luo. So he's helping Shen Luo to prevent me from getting a kidney transplant and die from kidney failure? Do you have the heart to let me die untreated due to a misunderstanding?" Jiang Kai's temples were throbbing wildly. Just as she was about to speak, my phone suddenly rang. It was the surveillance footage sent by Uncle Liu. I opened the video and handed it to Jiang Qi. The screen clearly showed Zhou Ran grabbing the knife, piercing the blood bag, and falling to the ground pretending to cry. Jiang Qi handed the phone in front of Zhou Ran. "Now what else do you have to say?" Zhou Ran's face was pale, but he quickly reddened his eyes and said, "ACI, I know, I was wrong, but I just didn't want your gaze to always stay on a stand-in. I am your true white moonlight. I've said it many times." Jiang Qi looked at him with sharp eyes. "Shen Luo is the chef I hired, not your stand-in." This was the first time Zhou Ran had been treated like this by her. He even stopped pretending to be aggrieved, freezing in place, his face full of disbelief. Jiang Qi turned to me, her tone heavy. "Shen Luo, I'm sorry. With today's matter, I didn't investigate the situation properly, and misunderstood you." I sighed. This wasn't the first time I'd been tormented by Zhou Ran, from the stand-in misunderstanding to the welcome banquet farce. And now, this framing and setting up. I came here to earn an 8 million annual salary cooking, not to act in a melodramatic soap opera. "Boss Jiang, I accept your apology, but I decide to resign." Jiang Qi froze for a second, and quickly tried to persuade me to stay. "I can increase your salary again. I will definitely handle things with Zhou Ran properly, and won't let him harass you anymore. It's not about the money." I shook my head. "I am just a cook. I just want to cook in peace. I don't want to be treated as a stand-in and tormented every day." No matter how Jiang Qi tried to persuade me, my attitude was very firm. She finally sighed, saying helplessly, "All right, I respect your decision. Your salary and compensation will be wired to you as soon as possible." After returning to the Zhang residence from the hospital, I quickly packed my bags, ready to leave. Uncle Liu sighed as he helped out. "If you leave, what will happen to me staying behind?" He has been working since the generation of Jiang Kai's parents, serving as the butler in the Jiang family. Over these years, he has already treated the Zhang household as his own home. He truly couldn't bear to leave. I patted his shoulder. "Uncle Li, it's too early for you to be sighing now. Think about it. Later, when Boss Jiang and Zhou Ran get married, that's when your days of suffering will truly begin." Hearing this, Uncle Liu only felt his vision go dark. Carrying my luggage, as I was leaving the Zhang residence, I looked back once. Jiang Qi was standing on the second-floor balcony, looking at me with a complicated expression, not knowing what she was thinking. I waved my hand, turned around, and got into the taxi, finally able to escape Zhou Ran's farces, and no longer needing to sneak around him to cook. It was simply too relaxing. After moving back into the apartment I previously rented, I gave myself a vacation, sleeping naturally until I woke up every day, and once awake, researching new recipes. Life was indescribably pleasant. I originally thought the grievances with the Zhang family would turn over a new page here, but unexpectedly, 3 days later, my phone suddenly blew up. A friend sent me a trending search link. The title blatantly reading, "Scheming stand-in kicked out of wealthy family, absconds with valuables." Clicking in to take a look, the video was exactly the footage of me packing my luggage 2 days ago. Zhou Ran had secretly filmed the video at some unknown time, deliberately pointing my suitcase full of luxury goods and watches right at the camera lens. He even added a caption saying, "I was only abroad for a few months, and some shameless man dressed up like me to seduce ACI, and even used Aikai's money to buy luxury goods. Now exposed by me, he has fled in disgrace. Tell me everyone, should I, the official partner, demand these things back?" The comment section was exploding like a boiling pot. Oh my god, is this stand-in literature from novels reflecting in reality? Using someone else's money to buy luxury goods. So, shameless. Feeling bad for the white moonlight bro? Having the stand-in occupy his nest for so long. Hurry up and return the stuff. People who reap without sowing are truly shameful. While I was reading the comments, my phone suddenly received a message from an unknown number. The message read, Shen Luo, you saw the trending search, right? If you know what's good for you, hurry up and return the luxury goods ACI bought. Otherwise, I don't mind making you even more famous. Looking at the message Zhou Ran sent, I was so angry I almost laughed. Those luxury goods, I clearly bought them with my own salary. With my 8 million annual salary, could I really not afford a few luxury items? Just as I was about to reply, the phone rang again. This time it wasn't Zhou Ran, but Zhangqi calling, Shen Luo. I saw the matter on the internet. I'm sorry, it's because of Zhou Ran again. Her tone carried an apology. I will have my PR team help you clarify and sue those spreading rumors. This time, I directly refused. No need. If you make an appearance, wouldn't that just confirm in the stand-in you found? It'll be even harder to explain then. I have my own way to clarify. So I want Trouble Boss Jiang with it. I hung up the phone, turned on my computer, and took screenshots of the employment contract I signed with Zhangqi, posting them online. The contract clearly stated an annual salary of 8 million, and the position was private chef. Next, I posted the purchase receipts for those luxury goods one by one. Every single one highlighted the purchase time and amount. All bought with my own bank card after I started the job. I, Shen Luo, am the private chef hired by Ms. Zhang. Annual salary of 8 million. I am not some so-called The luxury goods in the video were all purchased with my legal income. There is no such thing as absconding with valuables. The innocents speak for themselves. Rumormongers, please conduct yourselves with dignity. Once the clarification was posted, the comments section was instantly quiet for a few seconds. Then it turned completely upside down. Holy crap, a chef with an 8 million annual salary. What kind of godly culinary skills must this be? I was wrong, I'm sorry. With 8 million, buying these luxury items is just pocket change, isn't it? Turns out, it's not stand-in literature. It's my mindset being too small. So that Zhou Ran was spreading rumors. This move is a bit confusing. What I didn't expect was that a few Golden Circle princes who previously attended the welcome banquet, and wealthy big shots, actually also shared my clarification post. Golden Circle Little Princess. Mr. Shen's culinary skills can be called state banquet level. My mom urges me every day to poach him to cook at our house. An 8 million annual salary is not high at all. Hengyu Group, Boss Zhang. Last time I tasted the Buddha jumps over the wall, made by Mr. Shen. I still can't forget it to this day. Mr. Shen, are you considering opening a private restaurant? I will be the first to top up. Shenxi Group, Boss Li. Whoever spreads rumors about Mr. Shen, I'll get angry with them. If he's a stand-in, then what are we, who are rushing to hire him? As soon as these big shots spoke up, the comments section completely flipped. Everyone went from eating melons at the beginning, to now becoming hungry foodies, crying for food. The big shots have all spoken up. Just how delicious must this Mr. Shen's cooking be? Begging Shen Luo to open a restaurant. I am willing to wait in line for 3 days and 3 nights. Feeling sorry for Shen Luo, being treated as a stand-in and tormented for so long, and even being slandered. I looked at the comments section and couldn't help but smile. This wave, not only did I not suffer a loss, I even gave myself a wave of free advertising. I was just planning to reply to netizens saying I'd consider opening a private restaurant, when my phone received another anonymous message, attaching a few photos and an audio recording. The photos were of Zhou Ran accompanying someone at a hospital abroad, for a prenatal checkup, and a signed surgical consent form. The audio recording was a conversation between him and a friend, as if I went abroad to clear my mind. Wasn't it because I drank too much, got someone pregnant with my child, and could only secretly take her abroad? Zhangqi, that idiot, actually thought I just wanted to live abroad for a bit, visiting me every week. Can't help it. This is the charm of me. The white moonlight. I raised an eyebrow. This was truly counterattack material delivered right to my door, since Zhou Ran always refused to let me off. Then I had no need to be polite either. After blurring out sensitive info on these evidence, I posted them anonymously online, accompanying the text, asking someone who calls himself a white moonlight, what exactly did he do abroad for 3 months? Once the evidence was exposed, the internet completely blew up. Zhou Ran's lies were punctured. The netizens who previously sympathized with him immediately switched sides, cursing him for being deeply scheming and a habitual liar. Zhangqi was working abroad. After finally getting some free time, she asked, how is Shen Luo's public reputation online right now? Is anyone still cursing him? If there still is, Just let the PR and legal department handle it. The assistant shook his head. No one is cursing Mr. Shen anymore. But he hesitated for a moment and showed the news on his phone to Jiang Qi. As Jiang Qi looked at it, her brows knitted tighter and tighter. After finishing her work discussions, she rushed back home overnight. Tossing the phone in front of Zhou Ran, she coldly questioned, "Zhou Ran, what exactly is all this about?" Zhou Ran looked at the photos and recording, his face turning deadly pale. Yet he was still making excuses. "It's Shen Luo. He framed me. These are all fake. There is your signature on the medical report, and that is your voice in the recording. You are still making excuses." Zhang Kai's voice was full of disappointment. "I truly misjudged you all these years. Uncle Lu, pack up his things and escort him out of the Zhang household. After that, do not allow him to take another step in here." Zhou Ran froze for a second, but suddenly started laughing. "I know now. Now the plot must have reached the plot where the male and female leads are provoked by the stand-in, and their misunderstanding deepens. Jiang Qi, you driving me away now. Sooner or later you will regret it. Wait until you realize the one you love is me. And when you come back begging me, I won't forgive you easily." He firmly believed Ji would sooner or later desperately try to win him back. While packing his things, he deliberately put on an attitude of, "I'll be waiting for you to beg me to come back," and left the Zhang residence without looking back. Jiang Qi looked at his back and sighed helplessly. She looked at the empty room and suddenly missed the lively atmosphere from before. After hesitating for a long time, she took out her phone and still dialed my number. "Shen Luo, about Zhou Ran's matter. I still have to say sorry to you. Boss Jiang, you have already said the apology once. You calling today probably isn't for this, right? I can't hide anything from you." She hesitated for a while before continuing. "I saw the recent comments online and wanted to ask you, are you considering opening a private restaurant? I can invest. You don't need to spend a single cent, and all the profits go to you." I froze for a second and couldn't help but laugh. "Boss Zhang, are you trying to hire me back to cook in a roundabout way?" "No, I just feel that your culinary skills should be known by more people." Her voice was a bit unnatural. "Moreover, my stomach really isn't used to others cooking." I thought about it. Opening a private restaurant was my plan to begin with. Having someone willing to invest without interfering. Why not? Sure, but I have a condition. You cannot use your investor status to interfere with my business, and you have to wait in line to make a reservation for meals. No special privileges." "No problem," Jiang Qi agreed readily. Afterwards, with Jiang Qi's help, my private restaurant opened and flourished. Jiang Qi indeed kept her promise perfectly, never interfering with my operations, and always obediently waiting in line for meals. She would come to my private restaurant for her 3 meals a day. The days seemed to go back to the past, when I was cooking for her at the Jiang residence to nurse her stomach. Only this time, there was no more disturbance from Zhou Ran. I was once curious and asked Jiang why Zhou Ran never looked for her again. Her expression at that time was like she had swallowed a fly, and after a long while, she told me, before letting him leave the Jiang family, he said the plot had progressed to the leads being provoked by this, and their misunderstanding deepening. He seemed certain that next I would come to my senses and go chase after him. I couldn't help but sigh. Zhou Ran is truly living up to the melodramatic, white, Moonlight persona. After that, Jiang Qi and I tacitly never mentioned Zhou Ran again. When Jiang Qi came to eat every day, she would always bring me a small gift, sometimes just wildflowers from the roadside, sometimes the latest jewelry from some brand. When accepting the gifts, I laughingly teased Jiang Qi. "Before, you hiring me to cook for a year only cost 8 million. Now coming to eat here, not only do you have to pay, you even bring me gifts. I'm afraid it's way more than 8 million now." She smiled gently. "As long as you like it." Meeting her tender gaze, my heart suddenly pounded. After spending half a year day and night with Jiang Qi, one day she came to eat, bringing a huge bouquet of roses as a gift. I didn't dare to accept it, but instead, asked Ji, "Do you know what gifting roses means?" Jiang Qi nodded. "It means, all my money from now on will be managed by you. Are you willing?" Managing money. Who wouldn't be willing? I smiled and nodded my head. My relationship with Jiang Qi heated up rapidly, and we quickly decided to get married. The wedding was set on a sunny weekend. Those who came were all our friends and relatives, and the regular customers of the private restaurant. I was wearing a suit, preparing my wedding vows in the lounge, while the butler, Uncle Liu, was wiping his tears nearby. "You have no idea. When I heard Boss Jiang was marrying you, how thrilled I was. So good. Thank goodness Boss Jiang isn't marrying Zhou Ran. My future is not in total darkness anymore." He clearly still remembered what I said the day I resigned, and now his face was full of relief. I, however, froze for a moment, realizing I hadn't paid attention to news about Zhou Ran for a long time. Speak of the devil. While holding Jiang Kai's hand, just as we were about to exchange rings, the auditorium doors were suddenly smashed open. Zhou Ran rushed in, hair messy, eyes frantic, holding a glass bottle in his hand. Shen Luo, you shameless stand-in, not only did you provoke the relationship between me and AC, now, you even interrupted the plot of ECI, desperately trying to win me back, and stole aside to get married. Go to hell. He lunged at me roaring, raising the bottle to splash it on me. Inside was clearly sulfuric acid. Fortunately, Zhang Qi was well prepared, and had arranged bodyguards in advance, who immediately rushed forward and stopped him. Zhou Ran was pinned to the ground, still shouting crazily, "Why? I am clearly the white moonlight male lead. The plot is clearly supposed to be ACI and I, going through various misunderstandings, and finally living happily ever after. Why did it turn out like this now?" The police quickly arrived, and took Zhou Ran away. Watching his hysterical state as he was dragged away, I couldn't help but sigh. Even now, he still lives in a melodramatic novel, and has never recognized reality. Looking at the sulfuric acid bottle on the ground, Zhang Qi tightened her grip on my hand with lingering fear. "How? Are you okay?" "I'm fine." I smiled to comfort her, and even had the mood to joke around. Zhou Ran always feels that he is the white moonlight male lead in a novel, and you are the female lead. Could it really be true? Jiang Qi helplessly kissed my chin. Even if I were the female lead, my male lead would only be you. We looked at each other and smiled. The moment we exchanged rings, applause echoed through the banquet hall. Life after marriage remained simple and warm. Jiang Kai's stomach problem was completely cured. Her greatest joy every day was following me around the kitchen, occasionally helping me taste the food. My private restaurant chain grew more and more popular, yet I still insisted on personally developing new dishes. During an interview once, a reporter asked me, "Boss Shen, is your current success? Because after rising as a stand-in, you had Boss Jiang's support." He was clearly trying to stir up trouble. Zhang Qi, who was by my side, instantly had her face darken. She wanted to block me and answer on my behalf, but I pulled her back, smiled, and looked at the reporter. No one is ever someone else's stand-in. My success today is simply because I am a cook who loves to cook. The story serves as a poignant critique of how toxic obsessions and the dangerous influence of unrealistic expectations, exemplified by stand-in tropes in fiction, can erode one's sense of identity and human dignity. Through the stark juxtaposition between Zhou Ran's erratic, manipulative behavior and Shen Luo's unwavering integrity, the narrative delivers a profound message that true self-worth is never defined by the roles others impose upon us, but by our dedication to our craft and our refusal to compromise our principles for the sake of validation. Zhou Ran's downfall illustrates the inevitable outcome of living in a state of self-delusion, where the inability to distinguish between the artificial drama of a scripted life and genuine human connection leads to isolation and moral bankruptcy. In contrast, Shen Luo's journey from being dismissed as a mere substitute to becoming a celebrated, independent success validates the idea that authenticity and competence are the most powerful forms of empowerment. By rejecting the toxic narratives of jealousy, entitlement, and manipulation, the story ultimately encourages the audience to reclaim their agency, reminding us that we are not supporting characters in someone else's life or puppets of our own biases, but the independent architects of our own reality, who must treat ourselves and others with a sincerity and respect that is often lost in the pursuit of superficial ideals.